you guys, welcome back to my channel.
As you're probably aware right now, Tati Westbrook started litigation against Katie Joy from the Without a Crystal Ball channel. If you haven't seen my first video about the situation, I'm gonna have it on the top of the screen for you to click and go watch it. And in that video, I have the letter that's a response from Katie Joy to the litigation. And today, one of you from the BUZSQUAD decided to make some more buzz about the situation and sent me the entire 34-page litigation paperwork that Tati has filed against Katie Joy. And guess what, my beautiful people? We're going to read it all. But before I start, make sure to grab a snack and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, ring the bell button so you can get notified every time I post.
Also, as a quick disclaimer, I just want to remind you guys that everything we discuss here in the channel is my opinion, and my opinion only, not to be taken as a fact. Always do additional research from the information that you get here in the channel. I'm going to leave down below links for all of the resources I found about this situation. Also, do not send any hate to the people that I'm going to be talking about in this video.
Am I right, fellow adult?
However, I do encourage all of you to go in the comment section and let me know what do you think about the situation.
Now that all the disclaimers are done, let's keep going and let's read all of this thing. And I'm dead serious, this is going to be a long one. So get comfy and let's start.
Here on the first page, you have United States District Court, Western District of Washington at Seattle. The plaintiffs are Tatiana Westbrook, an individual, James Westbrook, an individual, Halo Beauty Partners LLC, a Nevada limited liability company, versus the defendant, Katie Joy Poulsen, an individual, Without a Crystal Ball LLC, a Minnesota limited liability company, and DOES 1 through 100 exclusive.
They also requested a jury trial for this case, and allegedly jury trials have been pushed back by a lot. So this means that for this case, it could drag for a couple of years.
Now the parties are: 1. Plaintiff Tatiana Westbrook, hereafter Tati, is and at all relevant times was a individual who domicile is in King County, Washington, and who is a citizen of the state of Washington. Tati is a founder, owner, and chief executive officer of Halo Beauty, Inc. Plaintiff James Westbrook, hereafter James, is and at all relevant times was an individual who domicile at King County, Washington, and who is a citizen of the state of Washington. Plaintiff Halo Beauty Partners LLC, hereafter Halo, is a Nevada limited liability company with its principal place of business in the state of Nevada. Plaintiff Tati, James, and Halo are hereafter collectively referred as plaintiffs. Upon information and belief, defendant Without a Crystal Ball LLC, hereafter defendant or Crystal Ball, is a Minnesota limited liability company authorized to conduct business in the state of Minnesota. Defendant Crystal Ball's principal executive address is,
and then I blocked that out.
And upon information and belief, defendant Katie Joy Poulsen, hereafter defendant Poulsen, is in all relevant times was an individual who domicile is in the state of Minnesota.
In the part 6 is a bunch of jargon just to clarify that her name and the names of all of the other companies Without a Crystal Ball and DOES 1 through 100, it will all be considered defendants from here on out during this paperwork.
Here enters the jurisdiction discussion. This court has subject matter jurisdiction under a bunch of numbers because there is complete diversity of citizenship between plaintiffs and defendants who are citizens of different states. And plaintiff alleges that their damages exceeded $5 million, exclusive of interest and costs. Thus, the matter in controversy exceeds the jurisdictional minimum of $75,000. This court has personal jurisdiction over defendants because they committed torts within the state of Washington and this district. Plaintiffs are informed and believe that defendants directly targeted plaintiffs who are residents of this district with their tortious activity.
This is just a bunch of jargon to say that they're filing there in the state of Washington because Tati lives there, and most of the time she's been there this year, so that's where they're doing the jurisdiction for the case.
Plaintiffs are informed and believe that defendants' behavior and wrongful conduct as described in this complaint substantially occurred and or was specifically directed at plaintiff within the jurisdiction of the Western District of Washington. General actual allegations. Plaintiff Tati is an internet personality, celebrity, and influencer. Tati has worked as a beauty product critic under the sobriquet Glam Life Guru. Tati critiques beauty products and posts those critiques in social media platforms, including YouTube. Tati has over 9 million followers on YouTube alone. James is married to Tati and is an entrepreneur and businessman with many years of successful business experience. Plaintiff Halo is a company formed by Tati and James. It is a nutraceutical company that produces products formulated to support hair, skin, and nail health. Upon information and belief, defendant Bolson identifies herself and holds herself out to the public as a journalist. Upon information and belief, defendants claim that Patheos.com was defendant Bolson's former employer. Upon information and belief, defendant Bolson never was an employer of Patheons.com, and Patheons.com cut whatever ties it had with Bolson, in part due to improper conduct, including her propensity to maliciously publish false and misleading information about third parties in her postings. Upon information and belief, defendant Bolson is an internet blogger and blogger who makes, produces, and uploads quote-unquote drama and or quote-unquote tea videos and internet postings on various internet-based platforms, including but not limited to YouTube and Twitter. Upon information and belief, defendant Bolson intentionally publishes false and defamatory matter to denigrate others through sensationalism and fabrication of perceived drama for the sole purpose of enticing followers and viewers to help defendant monetize defendant Bolson's pages and channels on her various social media platforms. Upon information and belief, defendant Bolson intentionally engages in being a quote-unquote internet troll under both her own name and various pseudonyms for the purposes of harassing and causing others consternation, grief, emotional distress, and to otherwise cause damage to their reputation, well-being, and livelihoods. Upon information and belief, defendants have a history of intentionally, maliciously, and or recklessly publishing false and or misleading information about various people and entities, including plaintiffs. Upon information and belief, defendants tout themselves as established YouTube personalities and self-proclaimed internet trolls with a professed obsession with plaintiffs. In fact, upon information and belief, Bolson has openly stated on her various platforms that she will not stop going after plaintiffs, and she has otherwise openly dared plaintiffs to sue defendants so that Bolson can misuse the discovery process to inflict more damage upon plaintiffs. Upon information and belief, defendants have approximately 135,000 followers on YouTube alone. Upon information and belief, defendants are infatuated with the concept of quote-unquote exposing plaintiffs, and it appears that others who are currently unknown are conspiring with and or feeding defendant private/confidential information about plaintiffs for the purpose of harming plaintiffs. In May 2019, defendants stated publicly in a YouTube video entitled, quote, James Charles canceled Sisters Tour, close quote, that they intended to target plaintiff Tati, her family, and her business, and do a quote-unquote expose on Tati as retribution for what defendants perceived as Tati's alleged mistreatment of another internet personality. True to their word, defendants thereafter obsessively fixated on Tati and her family to try to ruin Tati's good name and reputation and otherwise intentionally damage everyone around Tati. Upon information and belief, defendants intentionally harassed and maligned plaintiffs and or otherwise maliciously portrayed them in a false light and sought to financially harm them. Upon information and belief, defendants even went so far as to tell their social media viewers that Tati and James were quote-unquote demons. Upon information and belief, in addition to countless social media postings and articles, defendants have devoted at least 40 YouTube videos to discuss the plaintiffs since May 2019. These videos include, but are not limited to, a video entitled The Truth About the Vitamins Surrounding Tati and James Charles, uploaded on or about May 11, 2019. A video entitled Tati's Story is Falling Apart, uploaded on or about May 13, 2019. A video entitled Seattle Waiter Speaks Out About James Charles, uploaded on or about May 13, 2019. A video entitled James Charles No Longer Cancelled, uploaded on or about May 16, 2019. A video entitled Jeffree Star Rose the Bus Over James Charles, uploaded on or about May 18, 2019. A video entitled Jeffree Star Apologizes, uploaded on or about May 19, 2019. A video entitled James Charles Moves On, uploaded on or about May 19, 2019. A video entitled TATI Westbrook Roasted on Twitter, uploaded on or about May 20, 2019. A video entitled James Charles Cancels Sister Store, uploaded on or about May 24, 2019. A video entitled The Truth About TATI Westbrook, uploaded on or about May 25, 2019. A video entitled Sephora Arrived at My House and I'll Answer Questions Too, uploaded on or about May 31st, 2019. A video entitled Tati's Business Reviews Why She Calls Out James Charles, uploaded on or about June 1st, 2019. A video entitled The Past James and Tati Westbrook Don't Want You to Know, uploaded on or about June 2nd, 2019. A video entitled My Response to the T Channel, uploaded on or about June 3rd, 2019. A video entitled Can We Talk About Tati Lying for 18 Minutes, uploaded on or about June 15, 2019. A video entitled Beauty Influencer Send My Boss a Letter, uploaded on or about June 16, 2019. A video entitled Proof Tati's Vitamin Cells Not from Shane Dawson, uploaded on or about June 18, 2019. A video entitled James Charles is Back, Copyright and Lost Diamond, uploaded on or about June 19, 2019. A video entitled Should We Care About Beauty Gurus After Dramageddon 2019, uploaded on or about July 14, 2019. A video entitled James Charles Shares What Happens When Rumors Go Viral, uploaded on or about November 29, 2019. A video entitled Tati Westbrook's channel is tanking and she's blaming YouTube, uploaded on or about March 2nd, 2020. A video entitled Trisha Paytas, the most unproblematic person ever, claps back at Tati Westbrook over Shane Dawson, uploaded on or about June 1st, 2020. A video entitled Jeffree Star Caught Lying About Owning Morphe and Merch Company After Tati Westbrook Called Him Out, uploaded on or about June 1st, 2020. A video entitled Jeffree Star and Shane Dawson's friends are fed up and spilling details behind James Charles' takedown, uploaded on or about June 12, 2020. A video entitled Jeffree Star Trying to Scrub Criticism About Him off YouTube and Voice Memos Show His True Personality, uploaded on or about June 19, 2020. A video entitled Shane Dawson's Not So Beautiful Scam of the Beauty Community, Will Tati Westbrook Expose Them All, uploaded on or about June 21st, 2020. A video entitled Jeffree Star allegedly uses Tati Westbrook as a pawn. Will she reveal the truth? Uploaded on or about June 23rd, 2020. A video entitled Blair White Reviews the Dirt Jeffree Star is Exposing James Charles into Silence, uploaded on or about June 28, 2020. A video entitled YouTube's Biggest Creators Are in Trouble, uploaded on or about June 28, 2020. A video entitled Why I Can't Stay Silent About Tati Westbrook Anymore, with receipt, uploaded on or about July 2nd, 2020. A video entitled Jeffree Star's Indifference to Tati Westbrook Could Be Due to Potential Lawsuit and Business Trouble, uploaded on or about July 8, 2020. A video entitled Jeffree Star's Apology to James Charles is Just Another Infomercial to Sell His Makeup, uploaded on or about July 19, 2020. A video entitled TikTokers Lose Power for Party / Tati Westbrook Gold Halo / Danny Kahn's Age Slip / Kyle's Baby Drama, uploaded on or about August 20th, 2020. A video entitled 6 Huge YouTubers Recently Dipped Out and May Never Come Back, uploaded on or about August 27, 2020. A video entitled Tati Westbrook Lists Her Los Angeles Compound She Just Bought. Is She Leaving YouTube for Good? Uploaded on or about September 22nd, 2020. A video entitled James Charles Instructed Me to Remove All Videos About Tati Westbrook So They Could End Jeffree Star, uploaded on or about October 14th, 2020. A video entitled Clearing a Few Things Up About the Tati Jane Charles Situation, Why I Spoke Out, uploaded on or about October 14, 2020. A video entitled Why I Spoke Out Now About James Charles / Tati Westbrook Situation, uploaded on or about October 14, 2020. A video entitled Tati Westbrook's Legal Issues, Going Over the Full Complaints, uploaded on or about October 28, 2020. A video entitled I Was Right About Everything, a huge story coming on Tati West, Westbrook, uploaded on or about October 28, 2020. A video entitled Tati Westbrook Sued for Defrauding Millions from Biz Partner and Motivation for Sister Exposed, uploaded on or about October 28, 2020. A video entitled Why Tati Westbrook is the Mastermind Behind James Charles' Takedown and Why She Blamed Jeffrey and Shane, uploaded on or about October 29, 2020. A video entitled Tati Westbrook Drag Kiki Channel, The Prelude to Sister, plus her love for Jeffree Star, uploaded on or about October 29, 2020. And a video entitled Tati Westbrook Old Videos Were Setting Us Up for Sister and What She Said About Jeffree Star, uploaded on or about October 29, 2020. Plaintiffs allege on information and belief that defendants have conspired and continue to conspire with others to ruin and sully plaintiffs Tati's and James's reputation, to defame and injure plaintiff, and to intentionally interfere with Halo's business opportunities. Upon information and belief, defendants initiated a series of defamatory and disparaging attacks against plaintiffs, posted on various mediums on the internet, including but not limited to YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Patheos.com. Upon information and belief, defendants have created and uploaded to YouTube numerous videos in which they defamed and disparaged Tati, James, and Halo. Upon information and belief, such videos have been viewed hundreds of thousands, if not millions of times. Upon information and belief, defendants' improper posts and articles have been published to and or are accessible by the general public, including defendants' posts that contain false and disparaging statements of fact regarding plaintiffs. Upon information and belief, defendants have published articles concerning plaintiffs on Patheos.com, including but not limited to a June 3rd, 2019 article entitled A Criminal Background, Tati and James Westbrook Are Hiding from Millions. Upon information and belief, Tati does not have a criminal background to speak of, which makes the title of the article grossly misleading and defamatory as to her. Upon information and belief, the article states that James has, quote, a lengthy criminal rap sheet, close quote, and then proceeds to discuss an arrest in 1989 and another in 1990 related to drug use when James was still in his teens. However, the article then fails to mention any further quote-unquote criminal activity over the next 30 years. What is more, the article likewise fails to proffer any evidence that Tati or James have taken any affirmative steps to quote-unquote hide such matters of public record. As such, the subject article is both intentionally misleading and defamatory on its face. Upon information and belief, the subject article further states that James has never been quote-unquote successful in business. James's businesses over the years have been very successful, including his current business that defendants attempt to attack for their success. As such, the false generalization regarding James' entire history as a businessman is said in said blog is likewise defamatory. Upon information and belief, the article also reiterates as conclusive fact obviously false allegations found in an unsuccessful lawsuit filed in Hawaii regarding the inheritance of James's mother's estate. Had a valid investigation been performed, it would have been discovered that this lawsuit was filed by James's estranged sister, who was expressively disinherited by their respective mother many years prior, due to said sister having previously sued their mother when her stepdad died in an attempt to challenge the inheritance of a surviving spouse. After repeating the salacious and unproven allegations by his estranged sister, defendants concluded as fact, not opinion, that James had defrauded his family. This statement is an obvious, malicious, and blatant lie published solely to inflict damage upon Tati and James, and ignores that said lawsuit was settled by said estate being divided amongst the family members and that attorney's fees were ordered to be paid from the proceedings of the estate, not from James. Upon information and belief, the statement in the article that, quote, Tati Westbrook's vitamins line was not selling the way she hoped, close quote, was both misleading and maliciously false, as the vitamins line more than exceeded expectations, and Tati only lamented that the launch of the line could have gone more smoothly. Upon information and belief, the statement in the article that the purpose of transitioning Tati's business in 2019 from LLC to a corporation was to protect her assets from legal issues in connection with the James Charles fallout is false, and it was made made recklessly without regard to the truth. The fact remains LLCs provide the same assets protection as corporations. As such, the only purpose of making such statement is to intentionally portray TATI in a false light by attributing the nefarious purpose associated with the transition of her corporate structure. Upon information and belief, the statement in the article that James Charles has quote-unquote lost millions of dollars as a direct result of his relationship with the plaintiff is false, as even Mr. Charles himself expressly stated that his store was canceled for reasons unrelated to the plaintiffs. And, upon information and belief, the article in question obviously harms TATI and James's reputation and Halo's future business prospects by falsely asserting a significant amount of defamatory statements. By publishing these falsehoods, plaintiffs have been outrageously defamed. The statements made about plaintiffs amount to a false assertion that they are engaging in current criminal conduct, which is defamatory on its face. Upon information and belief, and by way of example and not limitation, defendants have made additional false defamatory and misleading statements such as, upon information and belief, defendants were talking about TATI when defendant Paulson stated as fact, not opinion, on or about July 1st, 2020 in a YouTube video entitled My Experience with TATI Westbrook that TATI is, quote, constantly lying and not taking accountability, end quote. Upon information and belief, defendants were talking about TATI when Paulson stated as fact, not opinion, on or about March 2nd, 2020 in a YouTube video entitled TATI Westbrook's channel is tanking and she's blaming YouTube. TATI is quote-unquote not honest and quote-unquote she's not properly disclaiming products she's using by the FTC standards. She's the owner of Halo Beauty, so she should be disclosing that. Upon information and belief, defendants were talking about plaintiffs TATI and James on June 16, 2019 in a YouTube video entitled, quote, Beauty Influencer Sends My Boss a Letter, end quote, wherein defendants concede that they recklessly failed to verify the veracity of the false and misleading statement they made about plaintiff. In the video, after indicating that she had conducted some background research on plaintiffs James and TATI, defendant Paulson said, quote, I might have rushed it. To be honest, I may have rushed it a little bit. Pieces I didn't have all together, end quote. She then stated that her video might have been disruptive to TATI and James's life. Upon information and belief, defendants were talking about James on Twitter when Paulson stated as fact, not opinion, on or about June 2nd, 2019, quote, her husband who is a career con artist, end quote. Upon information and belief, defendants were talking about James on Twitter when Paulson stated as fact, not opinion, on or about June 3rd, 2019, quote, he hasn't changed. He stole money from his mother, took out loans in her name while she was sick and ill, and then $340,000 from a lender in California, end quote. Upon information and belief, defendants were talking about James on Twitter when Paulson stated as fact, not opinion, on or about June 2nd, 2019, quote, he has failed and has a long history of crimes, end quote. Upon information and belief, defendants were talking about James on Twitter when Paulson stated as fact, not opinion, on or about June 2nd, 2019, quote, her husband is a career criminal and scammer, end quote. Upon information and belief, defendants were talking about James on Twitter when Paulson stated as fact, not opinion, on or about June 3rd, 2019, quote, he stole money from his mother, end quote. Upon information and belief, defendants were talking about TATI on Twitter when Paulson stated as fact, not opinion, on or about June 2nd, 2019, quote, two con artists who destroyed James Charles' reputation so they could pay off that, end quote. Upon information and belief, defendants were talking about TATI on YouTube when Paulson stated as fact, not opinion, on or about May 25th, 2019, quote, she's lying to sell snake oil, end quote. Upon information and belief, defendants were talking about TATI and James on YouTube when Paulson stated as fact, not opinion, on or about May 31st, 2019, quote, she had a pretty consistent reputation of like fooling people into believing that she's very trustworthy, but then she does a lot of very untrustworthy things, end quote. She covers TATI's story because she sells quote-unquote junk vitamins. Upon information and belief, defendants were talking about TATI and James on YouTube when Paulson stated as fact, not opinion, on or about June 2nd, 2019 in a video entitled, quote, "A path James and Tati Westbrook don't want you to know," end quote. Quote, "I just want you to keep in mind that she's being accused of selling snake oil, and after everything that I've done, I can say without a doubt her product is snake oil. She's manipulating her followers into buying these products and promising results that have zero testing to show that they do anything," end quote. Quote, "Let's just say Tati brags that he's a self-made. I'll bet when you're stealing money from your family, it's self-made, alright," end quote. Upon information and belief, defendants were talking about Halo on YouTube when Poulsen stated as fact, not opinion, on or about June 1st, 2019, quote, "You're stealing other company's logo. It's not completely stealing the logo, it is just kind of stolen," end quote. Upon information and belief, defendants were talking about Tati, James, and Halo on YouTube in a video entitled, quote, "Why I spoke out now about the James Charles / Tati Westbrook situation," end quote, on or about October 14, 2020, when she stated their business is, quote, "on the verge of imploding, and it all relates back to that history that they have, just not necessarily following the rule," end quote. Upon information and belief, defendants admitted on YouTube video entitled, quote, "James Charles shares what happened when rumors go viral," end quote, or on or about November 29, 2019. The defendants are aware that Poulsen's activities caused plaintiffs damage when Poulsen stated that she has been, quote unquote, "guilty of creating, quote unquote, drama," and that, quote unquote, "troll account create a, quote, massive ripple effect," end quote, where, quote, "everyone becomes impacted," end quote, and, quote, "untruth become fact," end quote. Upon information and belief, defendants were talking about Tati and James on Twitter on or about October 14, 2020, when they stated as fact, not opinion, quote, "Last year, I reported that Tati Westbrook's husband, James Westbrook, had a history of questionable behavior in relation to alleged fraud. A video I made on his court cases infuriated him to the point that they sent someone to my inbox to throw me. Let's just say I wasn't wrong," end quote. Upon information and belief, defendants were talking about Tati on Twitter on or about October 14, 2020, when they stated as fact, not opinion, quote, "But after receiving a phone call yesterday, I feel sick to my stomach. Tati Westbrook and James Charles used me in their quest to take down Jeffree Star," end quote. Upon information and belief, defendants were talking about Tati and James on Twitter on or about October 28, 2020, when they stated as fact, not opinion, quote, "Tati Westbrook wanted to set up her audience to make them believe she was trustworthy and liked herself being an angel, but she, as I see, was with her husband James Westbrook when he ripped off his family and his former friend for nearly $1 million. This time the fraud is more than $5 million," end quote. Upon information and belief, defendants were talking about Tati and James on Twitter on or about October 28, 2020, when they stated as fact, not opinion, quote, "It seems the Westbrooks attempt to remove blogs by Without a Crystal Ball could have been done to mislead business partners and potentially hide fraudulent activity from investors," end quote.
I think they meant activity, but I'm just gonna read verbatim.
Upon information and belief, defendants were talking about James on Twitter on or about October 28, 2020, when they stated as fact, not opinion, quote, "The lawsuit accuses James Westbrook of liquidating hundreds of thousands of dollars of Halo Beauty's assets on October 10, 2020, as the Westbrook learned about the case, effectively devaluing the company," end quote. Upon information and belief, defendants were talking about Tati and James on Twitter on or about October 28, 2020, when they stated as fact and not opinion, quote, "Tati Westbrook isn't scared for her life because of Jeffree Star. She and her husband are unloading their assets and trying to dodge their business responsibilities. They don't want anything in their name because they're on the hook for millions to Clark Swanson," end quote. Upon information and belief, defendants were talking about James on Twitter on or about October 28, 2020, when they stated, quote, "While I get that the complaint is one opinion for one partner, James Westbrook's history of fraud lends me to believe that the partner isn't lying," end quote. Upon information and belief, defendants were talking about Tati on Twitter on or about October 29, 2020, when they stated, quote, "JC, Tati once and used you a second time. Cut ties now," end quote. Upon information and belief, defendants were talking about Tati on Twitter on or about October 29, 2020, when they stated, quote, "Right there, Tati lying for 1 minute," end quote. And upon information and belief, defendants were talking about Tati on Twitter on or about October 29, 2020, when they stated, quote, "I dare fact check Tati's assertion that her husband is a great businessman, SIC," end quote. Upon information and belief, defendants have shown a reckless disregard for the truth truth of their statements about plaintiffs and a propensity for portraying plaintiffs in a false light. While defendants admitted on or about July 2nd, 2020 that they removed statements from articles written about plaintiffs that were blatantly false after receiving a letter from plaintiffs' counsel, defendants have refused to remove the same or similar false statements from other internet platforms, including YouTube. Upon information and belief, since July 2nd, 2020, defendants have continued unabated their relentless attacks upon plaintiffs with false statements and or statements portraying plaintiffs in a false light. Upon information and belief, on or about October 20, 2020, plaintiff business partner filed a lawsuit in Los Angeles Superior Court entitled Swanson vs. Halo Beauty, Incorporated. In response to the filing of this lawsuit, defendants have devoted numerous hours of content on YouTube and numerous Twitter posts. Defendants even posted on Twitter on or about October 28, 2020 that they were, quote, tipped off about the suit by a source, end quote, who, quote, asked us to break the story, end quote. Upon information and belief, on or about October 28, 2020, defendant uploaded a video onto YouTube entitled, quote, I was right about everything, a huge story coming on TATI WESTBROOK, end quote. In said video, upon information and belief, defendant made the following false statements and or statements portraying plaintiffs in a false light, including but not limited to, quote, I now get why James and TATI WESTBROOK have been wanting my stuff off the internet. They did not want their business partner to see what he was involved in. They did not want any of those fraudulent cases that he, James, was involved in to become public. They did not want it searchable, end quote. You don't want to be affiliated with this at all. These are no good people. That Tati and James, quote, scrubbed everything so that they can protect things from investors, end quote. That Tati and James were broke when they launched Halo. That Tati and James had no credit when they launched Halo. That Tati and James had no money when they launched Halo. That Tati and James had no bank accounts when they launched Halo. That James liquidated all the cash in Halo's bank account and paid it out to members without the knowledge of the partners, rendering Halo worthless. And that James liquidated his mom's house, quote, to the point where it was zero. He had put in so many reverse mortgages that the house had no equity, end quote. There's not a shred of truth in any of these claims that the defendants state as a fact. Moreover, defendants portrayed James in a false light as they knew this statement was untrue at the time it was made. Generally, one must be 62 years of age to obtain a reverse mortgage. Defendants are in possession of knowledge that James is well below the age of 62. Upon information and belief, defendants falsely state in the, quote, I was right about everything, end quote, video that Tati and James liquidated all of Halo's cash in advance of a lawsuit being filed. This statement is false on several levels. The Swanson complaint says no such thing. The complaint only alleges that Halo issued a distribution and says nothing about that distribution leaving the bank accounts without any cash. Second, the statement is absolutely false. The truth is that Halo merely went through a standard and routine end of the financial quarter distribution in which Clark Swanson took part and which also left significant sums in the company's operating accounts to cover currently operating expenses. This statement was made for the sole purpose of defaming Tati and James and portraying them in a false light. Moreover, the lawsuit does not state the funds were paid without Mr. Swanson's knowledge. The lawsuit says that he objected to it. Such quarterly withdrawals of funds did not render Halo quote-unquote worthless, nor does the Swanson's complaint make such a claim. Upon information and belief, on or about October 28, 2020, defendants uploaded a video onto YouTube entitled, quote, Tati WESTBROOK's legal issues, going over the full complaint, end quote. In said video, upon information and belief, defendants made the following false and or misleading statement portraying plaintiffs in a false light, including but not limited to, stating that Tati and James listed their house for sale because they wanted to get rid of their assets if they lose to Swanson's lawsuit, so the people could not get access to their money, and stating that James, quote, liquidated all of his assets from Halo Beauty, end quote. Upon information and belief, defendants recklessly made these false statements without any supporting information. To begin, it is mathematically impossible to liquidate, quote, all of these assets, end quote, if James James is being sued as a 33% owner of Halo in the Swanson case.
Shut up and take my money!
In addition, Tati and James moved to the state of Washington in 2018 and became permanent residents in 2019, a fact known by defendants as Folsom has made mention of Tati's move to Washington in certain of her videos. Despite having such knowledge, defendants instead claimed that Tati and James were selling a house that they no longer live in for nefarious reasons. Defendant defamatory statements and videos have caused damage to Tati, James, and Halo. Upon information and belief, defendants initiated these numerous salacious and defamatory attacks on plaintiffs to malicious damage, disparage, criticize, and otherwise adversely affect plaintiffs.
Let's have a cute puppy break.
Upon information and belief, defendants expressly seek to destroy plaintiffs' relationship with their business relations, customers, and followers. In fact, in one video, defendants claim that they privately reached out to individuals with whom plaintiffs maintain business relationships, repeated their defamatory claim to them, and told them to, quote-unquote, cut ties with plaintiffs. Upon information and belief, defendants seek to impede and undermine the Halo and the commercialization of its vitamin supplement brand, thus inflicting economic damage on Tati, James, and Halo. Plaintiffs have built their highly valuable customer base, reputation, and goodwill over several years. The harm that defendants are inflicting upon plaintiffs and continue to inflict if not enjoined cannot be calculated at this time, but is believed to exceed $5 million. Plaintiffs have requested a defendant take down the false, misleading, and defamatory videos, articles, and tweets. Yet, defendants have refused to remove the videos and tweets and have continued to publish additional false and defamatory content regarding plaintiffs. The allegations made by defendants in various YouTube, Twitter, and Patheos.com postings have defamed plaintiffs, disparaged plaintiffs' products, and negatively impacted plaintiffs' relationships with their customers, prospective customers, and business relations. Defendants' willful, disparaging, malicious, and defamatory conduct as set forth herein has inflicted and will continue to inflict irreparable harm upon plaintiffs, including harm to their reputation, substantial impairment of their customer relationship and goodwill, and impairment to their relationship with current and potential business partners, which cannot be remediated by money damages alone. No price tag can be placed on harm caused by threatened destruction of plaintiff's reputation as a result of defendants' disparaging and defamatory statements made to the general public, which includes plaintiff customers, followers, and business relations. Upon information and belief, it is currently impossible to determine how much plaintiffs stand to lose as a result of defendants' improper conduct. Without judicial intervention, the damage and harm to plaintiffs undoubtedly will increase exponentially. Upon information and belief, the existence of irreparable harm is beyond doubt. Without the injunction, defendants' aggressive campaign of disparagement and interference with plaintiffs' prospective economic advantage and business relation will continue. Upon information and belief, as of October 2020, despite plaintiff Tati remaining offline for a few months, defendants have continued their malicious, aggressive campaign of disparagement and defamation against plaintiffs. Upon information and belief, at all relevant times described herein, defendants, in doing the acts alleged in this complaint, acted in concert and conspired or aided and abetted each other to do the act complained of in this complaint, and that each defendant acted at all times as the agent, partner, co-conspirator, co-venturer, joint venturer, representative, or employee of the other defendant, and acted within the scope of and purpose of that agency, partnership, joint venture, or employment, such that the acts and conduct of each defendant was known to, authorized by, and rectified by the other defendant. Plaintiffs are further informed and believe that each of the defendants named herein engaged in wrongful conduct that is a proximate cause of plaintiff's damages and are therefore responsible in some manner for the damages sustained by the plaintiff. First cause of action, defamation. Plaintiffs hereby incorporate by reference each and every allegation contained in the preceding paragraph 1 through 49 of this complaint as though fully set forth herein. Upon information and belief, from May 2019 to the present, defendants published to third parties and or caused others to publish to third parties through articles, tweets, Instagram posts, and postings on other internet platforms. Numerous written, false, non-privileged statements of fact regarding plaintiffs that were disregarding, damaging, disparaging, and defamatory, and made for the purpose of causing plaintiffs financial harm and emotional distress. Upon information and belief, defendants also have made numerous oral, false, unprivileged statements of fact about plaintiffs, which were published to third parties, were disregarding, damaging, despairing, and defamatory, and were made for the purpose of causing plaintiff financial harm and distress. Upon information and belief, these false and defamatory statements made the defendants, as stated above, were posted to YouTube, Twitter, Pathos.com, Instagram, and other global media platforms, which are in the public domain, and were therefore published to individuals of the general public, including plaintiff TATI's followers on social media and plaintiff Halo's customers and potential customers, negatively impacting their business and potential business relationships. Upon information and belief, third parties reasonably understood that defendant false statements were about plaintiffs Tati, James, and Halo, respectively, as plaintiffs were each mentioned by name numerous times throughout the various mediums the defendant chose to publish the defamatory statement. Upon information and belief, defendant published the same or similar defamatory statements to other third parties by way of other means and venues. As a result of defendant's false statements, plaintiffs have been exposed to ridicule and contempt. By refusing to take down the defamatory post currently on multiple internet platforms, defendants continue to make false and misleading statements. Upon information and belief, these statements are intended to carry out a smear campaign against plaintiffs. Monthly revenue of plaintiffs began declining and has continued to decline month over month since defendants' campaign of malice and defamation commenced. Upon information and belief, in publishing false and misleading statements of facts about plaintiffs, defendants act negligibly and or intentionally maliciously and with a reckless disregard of the truth or falsity of such statements. Defendant statements clearly were calculated falsehoods and were made either with knowledge of their falsity or with reckless disregard of their truth or falsity. For instance, in a June 16, 2019 video, defendants admit that defendant Folsen may have rushed publication of false defamatory statements before having all facts, and admits that her false statement may have disrupted plaintiffs' lives and businesses as a result. Additionally, in a July 2, 2020 video, defendants acknowledged that they removed false statements from articles but refused to remove the same or similar false content from YouTube and Twitter. Defendants' defamatory statements have subject plaintiffs to hatred, contempt, ridicule, and obloquy. As a direct and proximate result of the conduct of defendants as described herein, plaintiffs have been shunned, avoided, and or injured in their occupation or business. As a direct and proximate result of the conduct defendants as stated herein, plaintiffs have been damaged in an amount to be proven at trial, including without limitation, emotional distress, mental anguish, loss of income/profits, and loss of goodwill damages, the amount of which is expected to exceed $5 million. Second cause of action, defamation per se. Plaintiffs hereby incorporate by reference each and every allegation contained in the preceding paragraph 1 through 61 of this complaint as through fully set forth herein. Upon information and belief from May 2019 to the present, defendants published to third parties false and or misleading non-privileged statements of fact about plaintiffs that were disregarding, damaging, despairing, and defamatory for the purpose of causing them harm and to otherwise destroy plaintiff's ability to conduct business through YouTube and through plaintiff Halo sale of supplement products. Upon information and belief, defendants published these false statements in numerous articles, tweets, Instagram posts, YouTube Vibes, I think they mean videos, Pathos.com posts, and videos on other internet platforms. Such false statements were published to hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions, including to plaintiff Tati's followers on various social media platforms and plaintiff Halo customers and potential customers. Upon information and belief, defendant published the same or similar false statement on other third parties by way of other means and venues. By way of example, in no limitation, these false statements include that James has a, quote, long history of crimes, and, quote, is a, quote, career criminal and scammer, end quote, has engaged in fraud, has a, quote, quote-unquote shady background, has an arrest for possession of drugs that he was trying to hide, has multiple felonies, has a possible incarceration, has a bankruptcy, stole money from his dying mother, has a long rap sheet, has had 4 businesses permanently revoked as evidence he committed fraud, has a judgment against him for over $500,000 for defrauding an investor, has engaged money laundering, and is a quote-unquote career con artist. In addition, she has stated that court records show he took his mom off of oxygen to imply that he intentionally killed his mother. The plaintiff Tati is, quote, a snake, end quote, and quote-unquote con artist, and has a history of selling quote-unquote snake oil, defrauding lenders, engaging in fraud, money laundering, and lying. The plaintiff, Halo, is quote-unquote manipulating its customers, stealing property from other companies, and that its products are harmful to human health. Defendants also have falsely stated or implied that Halo's products need to be FDA approved and are not. Upon information and belief, third parties reasonably understood that these false and or misleading statements were about plaintiffs Tati, James, and Halo respectively, as they were each mentioned by name numerous times throughout the various mediums that defendant Folsom chose to publish her defamatory statements. Upon information and belief, defendants' false statements were made without authorization and without privilege. Upon information and belief, defendants' false statements impute dishonestly and criminal conduct to plaintiffs and were designed to subject plaintiffs to public ridicule, potential violence, and contempt, to deprive plaintiffs of the benefit of public's confidence, and to injure plaintiffs in their business, profession, or trade. Upon information and belief, by refusing to take down the defamatory posts currently on multiple internet platforms, defendants continue to make false and misleading statements with the intent of conducting a smear campaign against plaintiffs. Plaintiffs have lost revenue as a result of defendants' false statements, and these revenue declines have continued to occur month after month since defendants' campaign of malice and defamation commenced. Upon information and belief, defendants failed to use reasonable care to determine the truth or falsity of these false statements. Further, defendants' publications of these false statements were done intentionally, maliciously, and with reckless disregard of the truth or falsity of the statements. Upon information and belief, defendants have made and continue to make false statements about plaintiffs intentionally, maliciously, and or in a grossly negligent manner for the sole purpose of injuring the business and reputation of plaintiffs. Upon information and belief, defendants' publications of these false statements constitute defamation per se, and plaintiffs are therefore presumed to have incurred damages as a result of such publications. Plaintiffs have suffered harm to their business and reputation and have been exposed to contempt and ridicule as a result of defendant's defamatory statements. As a direct and proximate result of the conduct of defendant, as stated herein, plaintiffs have been damaged in an amount which is believed to exceed $5 million. Third cause of action, trade libel. Plaintiffs hereby incorporate by reference each and every allegation contained in the preceding paragraph 1 through 75 of this complaint as though fully set forth herein. Upon information and belief, defendants have made numerous statements disparaging plaintiff Halo's credibility, business, and products. These statements include but are not limited to that plaintiff Halo is selling quote-unquote snake oil and its products are harmful. Upon information and belief, defendants also have stated falsely that plaintiff Halo's products need to be FDA approved, falsely implying that such products do not comply with FDA regulations. Upon information and belief, these statements would be clearly or necessarily understood by third parties to disparage plaintiff Halo's credibility and products in the marketplace. Upon information and belief, defendants knowingly made these and other false and misleading unprivileged statements of fact and intended such statements to injure Halo's pecuniary interest with respect to their profession, trade, and business. Upon information and belief, defendants knew that the statements were untrue and the time the statements were made or act with reckless disregard of the truth or falsity of the statement. Defendants knew or should have recognized that the third parties would act in reliance on the statements, causing plaintiff Halo financial harm. Halo has suffered direct financial harm because because numerous people have acted in reliance on defendant's false statement, and Halo subsequently lost sales and customers as a result. Plaintiff Halo has been damaged in an amount to be proven at trial, which is expected to exceed $5 million. Fourth cause of action, false light, invasion of privacy. Plaintiffs hereby incorporate by reference each and every allegation contained in the preceding paragraph 1 through 82 in this complaint as though fully set forward herein. Upon information and belief, defendants have made numerous false statements regarding plaintiff, which has depicted plaintiffs in a false light in the public eye, including without limitation statements that plaintiff James and Tati are liars, have engaged in criminal conduct, including money laundering, stealing, and from plaintiff James' own mother, and intentionally causing plaintiff James' mother death, have defrauded investors and consumers, and have a history of failed businesses and money management problems. Upon information and belief, the publicity created by defendants' statements was highly offensive and objectionable to both plaintiffs, James and Tati, and to a reasonable person, and such statements attribute to plaintiffs James and Tati characteristics, conduct, or beliefs, and that are false, therefore placing plaintiffs in a false position before the public. Upon information and belief, defendants published such statements either with knowledge of their falsity or with reckless disregard of their falsity and the false light in which plaintiffs were placed. For instance, in a June 16, 2019 video, defendants admit they may have rushed publication of their statements before having all facts, which may have disrupted plaintiff's life. Upon information and belief, as a proximate result of defendants' false statements and fiction, plaintiffs James and Tati have suffered general damages, including emotional distress and mental suffering, in an amount to be proven at trial, which is expected to exceed $5 million. Plaintiffs James and Tati believe that defendants will continue making false statements depicting them in an offensive, objectionable, false light unless and until enjoined and restrained by order of this court. Defendants' continued publication will cause plaintiffs Tati and James great and irreparable injury. Plaintiffs Tati and James have no adequate remedy at law for the injuries being suffered, in that a judgment for monetary damages will not end the invasion of plaintiff Tati and James's privacy.
You are my honey bun, sugar plum, pumpy pumpkin. You're my sweetie.
Fifth cause of action, intentional infliction of emotional distress. Plaintiffs hereby incorporate by reference each and every allegation contained in the preceding paragraph 1 through 88 of this complaint as though fully set forth herein. Upon information and belief, the conduct of defendants as described in this complaint was extreme and outrageous and beyond the bounds of decency tolerated in civilized society. Upon information and belief, the conduct of defendants was intended to cause plaintiffs Tati and James severe emotional distress and or perpetrated with reckless disregard to the probability that plaintiff Tati and James would suffer severe emotional distress as a result. Upon information and belief regarding plaintiff James, the extreme and outrageous conduct of defendants included but was not limited to a series of harassment where defendants published to various public mediums false statements that plaintiff James was a thief who stole from his dying mother intentionally caused his mother's death, engaged in fraud, and was a career criminal convicted of multiple felonies with a long rap sheet. Upon information and belief regarding Tati, the extreme and outrageous conduct of defendant included but was not limited to a series of harassment where defendants published to various public mediums false statements that plaintiff Tati was a liar, has defrauded investors, and has a history of hiding assets to defraud creditors. Upon information and belief, defendant posts numerous videos and statements about plaintiff nearly every week, and sometimes even uploads multiple posts and videos on a single day. Upon information and belief, defendants made these false statements about plaintiffs Tati and James either with knowledge of their falsity or with reckless disregard of their falsity. As a direct and proximate result of defendants' outrageous conduct, plaintiffs Tati and James have suffered severe emotional distress and mental anguish, including but not limited to loss loss of sleep, anxiety, depression, nausea, loss of appetite, loss of weight, fear, sense of helplessness, and despair. As a direct and proximate result of the tortures and wrongful acts of defendants, plaintiffs have suffered past and future special damages and past and future general damages in an amount to be proven at trial. Sixth cause of action, negligent infliction of emotional distress. Plaintiffs hereby incorporate by reference each and every allegation contained in the preceding paragraphs 1 through 97 of this complaint as though fully set for hearing. Upon information and belief, defendants owed a duty to use reasonable care in their conduct with regard to the mental health and safety of plaintiffs Tati and James. It was foreseeable and probable that plaintiffs Tati and James would suffer severe emotional distress from constant onslaught of defamatory statements being made by defendants about plaintiffs Tati and James and their company on social media and aimed at their consumer base. Upon information and belief regarding plaintiff James, the negligent conduct of defendants includes without limitation publishing on various public mediums false statement that plaintiff James was a thief who stole from his mother, engaged in fraud, and was a career criminal convicted of multiple felonies with long rap sheet. Upon information and belief regarding Tati, the negligent conduct of defendants included without limitation publishing on various public mediums false statement that plaintiff Tati was a liar, has defrauded investors, and has a history of hiding assets to defraud creditors. Upon information and belief, plaintiffs Tati and James are informed and believe that defendants breached the duty of care they owed to plaintiff by repeatedly harassing plaintiffs with derogatory, defamatory, and outright bullying ways as described in this complaint. Plaintiff Tati and James have suffered severe emotional distress with objective symptomology including but not limited to loss of sleep, anxiety, depression, nausea, loss of appetite, fear, sense of helplessness, and despair. Plaintiffs are informed and believe that as a direct and proximate result of the tortures and wrongful act of defendants as described in this complaint, plaintiffs Tati and James have suffered past and future special damages and past and future general damages in an amount to be proven at trial. Seventh cause of action, Washington Consumer Protection Act. Plaintiffs hereby incorporate by a reference each and every allegation contained in the preceding paragraph 1 through 104 of this complaint as though fully set for hearing. Upon information and belief, defendants' numerous publications are false and misleading statements directly targeting plaintiffs and their business income for the purpose of fabricating drama and controversy to increase defendants' own number of followers and revenue from their various social media platform constitute unfair or deceptive acts or practices in trade or commerce. Under such acts or practices by defendants had and continue to have the capacity to deceive a substantial portion of the public. Upon information and belief, defendants' unfair or deceptive acts or practices affect the public interest because they had or have the capacity to injure other persons as described in this complaint. Defendants' unfair or deceptive acts have caused injury to plaintiffs in their business or property, including loss of followers, loss of consumers, and other lost revenue and profit. Plaintiffs are entitled to recovery of damages in an amount to be determined at trial, plus treble damages, reasonable attorney's fees, and costs for defendants' violation of the Washington Consumer Protection Act. Cause of action, civil harassment. Plaintiff hereby incorporate by reference each and every allegation contained in the preceding paragraph 1 through 109 of this complaint as though fully set for hearing. Upon information and belief, defendants have manifested an intent to quote-unquote expose plaintiffs and have restlessly pursued plaintiffs. Upon information and belief, May 2019, defendants have knowingly and willfully engaged in a course of conduct directed at plaintiffs Tati and James, including publishing defamatory statements about them, which had seriously alarmed, annoyed, harassed, and is detrimental to them, and which serves no legitimate purpose. Defendants' pattern and practice of civil harassment targeting plaintiffs Tati and James in violation of includes, but it's not limited to, the following: falsely accusing plaintiff James of having a quote long history of crimes and quote being a quote career criminal and scammer, end quote. Theft, fraud, having multiple felonies, stealing money from his dying mother, having a long rap sheet, being a, quote, career con artist, being a, quote, demon.
I don't see why you have to belittle me in front of people like that.
And intentionally killing his mother, falsely accusing plaintiff Tati of being, quote unquote, a snake, a quote unquote con artist, selling, quote unquote, snake oil, intentionally and knowingly selling products harmful to the public, having a company that is, quote unquote, stealing property from other companies, and, quote, manipulating its customers, end quote, being a, quote unquote, demon. And lying. Defendant's knowing and willful course of conduct directed at plaintiffs Tati and James is such conduct that would cause a reasonable person to suffer emotional distress, and which actually caused plaintiffs to suffer substantial emotional distress, including without limitation, loss of sleep, anxiety, depression, nausea, loss of appetite, fear, sense of hopelessness, and despair. Plaintiffs Tati and James are entitled to entry of a preliminary and, at the conclusion of these proceedings, a permanent injunction against defendant and anyone acting in concert with them or at their direction, prohibiting defendants from making and or publishing, whether directly or indirectly, statements about plaintiffs Tati and James that the court determines are false. Prayer for relief. Wherefore, plaintiff pray for judgment as follows. 1. For judgment against defendants in a sum to be proven at trial. 2. For recovery of attorney's fees and costs as authorized by Washington statute, including and common law. 3. For preliminary and permanent injunctive relief. 4. For pre- and post-judgment interest in the amount of 12% per annum. 5. For treble damages pursuant to, and 6. For such other and further relief as the court may deem proper. Dated October 30th, 2020.
Holy moly, I literally need a drink. This took me about 2 days, and that's a real proof that I really love you guys, because some of you wanted me to do this. I don't have many opinions about it because I'm not a lawyer and I don't have a dog in this fight. The only thing I can say is you can always prove that you are not defaming somebody with the truth. So as long as Katie Joy can prove that everything she said is the truth, she should be fine. But as I already discussed with you guys in the beginning of the video, this is going to take a couple of years, allegedly. So we'll keep looking into it and see how this develops. And if you guys want to do a deeper dive on these legal complaints that keep popping up in the internet this week, go check out Emily D. Baker. She made a video about Tati's lawsuit with Halo or Clark Swanson, and she also did another video about this lawsuit of Tati versus Without a Crystal Ball, and she's an attorney and she explains everything step by step. It's worth to check her out. And if you survived this video and you're still here with me, thank you so very much. I know it was a lot, but now I want to know, what is your opinion? Do you think something doesn't add up here in this complaint, or do you think that Tati got it in the bag? If you like this video, don't forget to press that like button. Would really appreciate. And if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe and ring that bell button so you can get notified every time I post. Also, don't forget to follow me on my socials. They will be listed down below in the description box. And I hope to see you guys in my next upload. Subscribe!